G'day, MBS here. Look, in this little video I'm going to show you how to diagnose a no start diesel. Now the engine cranks but it just won't fire up. This has occurred in this particular vehicle over a period of time. It just got worse and worse, started missing, started blowing white smoke, then it wouldn't even run above idle, and then it eventually just conked out and stopped and never restarted. So we're going to have a bit of a go now and diagnose the problem and hopefully repair it and get it going again. Now, it's a 1HZ in a Toyota Coaster, 2000 model, so pretty much the same as all the 1HZs in the Land Cruisers and coasters that had that engine in them. Fairly simple, diagnosing diesels. Now, if you've come to this video via my website, then you would have noticed that I've got a 1HZ motor manual there that you can download and print pages from. And what we've done is we've printed 2 pages out of that manual, and it's the EM6 section, diagnosing, and the title is obviously Engine Cranks but does not start. So for a total beginner to diesels, this is probably a good place to start. For the guys that know a little bit more about diesels, well, you know, you probably don't need this. You're pretty well savvy on the go with diesels, and it's usually one of 2 things, isn't it? It's mechanical failure, dropped rod, hole in the side of the ball, whatever, something like that, something major, cam belt broken, who knows. But it's more likely to be fuel, okay? If you haven't heard any nasty bangs or anything while you're driving it, then it's more likely to be a fuel problem. So, you know, you could probably start from the fuel filter, primer pump, work your way up to the injection pump. Most people would go that way. Now, I'm not totally familiar with diesels, as most diesel mechanics are that have been working on them full time. I'm mainly stuck to petrol engines. So yeah, I sought a bit of advice from Google and a few mechanics in town, and they all sort of led me to, well, the mechanics in town led me to the injectors or the diesel pump. Now that's a bloody fortune, a diesel pump, if it's failed. Now inside the diesel pump there's a primer pump. It's not the primer that you've got at your fuel filter, different altogether. So they're saying that maybe the primer pump seal is leaking inside the fuel injection pump, and it's sucking air in through that seal. Well, you know, that would be bad if that's what it is, but I've got a way of diagnosing that out of the equation, and we'll cover that shortly. But if we stick to this sheet for the total beginners, you'll notice if you've jumped on my website, and I'll show it up above, and downloaded this and printed it out, you'll be able to follow me very easily. Now, depending on your situation, it's not going to be the same as mine. Like, I know mine was running, eventually died in a death of white smoke. Okay, you may come across something totally different, buying a car that doesn't run with a diesel motor in it, and you've got to see if it's worth your while buying it. You just don't know what the problem could be, but if you could start it, yeah, you might be interested in purchasing that vehicle, or whatever the case may be. It's pretty easy to work out. But if we follow this, I'm sort of got quite a few here I can eliminate straight off the bat, you know, just because of circumstances. And if we go through that, if you've printed this out, if you haven't, just follow along. And there are 9 points that you can check, and they left one out. There should be 10. Compression, but compression is a very, very rare thing. You know, the engine would have to probably be sitting there for years to lose compression. The rings seize up or something like that. So we're not worried too much about that. We're not worried about item 7, improper injection timing. No, look, engine was running fine until that point. So nothing's gone wrong with the injection timing. It won't shift. It's gear driven off the crankshaft, so it can't move. Same would be with the ACSD, the automatic cold start device. In particular on a coaster they have those. and that does nothing to advance the injection timing, so you could rule that one out. And Land Cruisers I don't think even had that, so one less thing to worry about. We've got faulty injection nozzles, yeah, and I've been led to believe that could be my problem, but by crikey, that happened pretty quick. You know, within 3 10-minute starts over a span of 2 weeks, it just failed. It's unlikely, unless leaving it for too long and the injector cleaner is gummed up and everything. I don't know. So I'm sort of ruling that one out of the equation because it's unlikely. Faulty glow plug operation? Look, no, not really, because the engine was warm when it started missing and carrying on, and it just progressively got worse and then started doing it. It was cold, and yeah, so I don't have a problem with my glow plug or my preheat circuit for the glow plugs, but that's something worthwhile checking. If you've got cold start issues with your diesel, like it eventually starts, but yeah, so you could go for glow plugs. We've got fuel leakage from injection pipes. Well, that's simple enough. Just check over all your lines, make sure you haven't got a fuel leak somewhere that could be drawing air through that leakage point. Now we've got no fuel cut-off solenoid operation. Well, if that didn't work, then boom, just like that, the engine would die. Over. You know, so this didn't do that. So, but I checked it anyway. Look, just for the purposes of the exercise, it's easy enough. You take the plug off the injector pump and you turn the ignition on and just put the plug on and off, on and off, on and off, and you'll hear the solenoid clicking. So if you hear it clicking, that's fine. Which virtually brings us down to the obvious point, which most diesels suffer from, and that's no fuel into the injection pump. Yeah, and there's various reasons for that. So who knows what it could be? It could be the primer pump has failed, sucking air in the line somewhere, blockage in the intake line from the tank to the filter, a leaking fuel filter, look, myriad of things, blockage from there to the injection pump. So I'm steering in that direction for this particular diagnosis only because these couple of mechanics in town have steered me in that direction. Whether that's the right thing or not, probably not. I probably should be going for the simple stuff, but I'd rather eliminate my $3,000 item first and then get a little bit of peace of mind that I'm chasing something minor somewhere else in the circuit. And it's not hard what I'm going to do. Instead of going for the primer pump, fuel filter and the lines and all that sort of stuff, I'm just going to go straight for the big item, the fuel injection pump. So what I'm going to do is set up a jerry can and set it up here on the my bench and gravity feed fuel straight into the pump. And if it goes, then that's a good step forward. Then what I'll do is I'll lower the jerry then and see if it can suck it out of the jerry uphill into the pump, and if that all works, then I'm looking definitely for a problem further back, fuel filter, primer pump or something like that. And that's not going to be hard for me to do that. 10 minutes work, I'll have that sussed out. So I'm going to start doing that. I'll set up the jerry and everything. We'll come back and we'll film that little bit and see how it went, and we'll progress from there. Okay. Okay, so what I've done is I've removed the fuel line off the inlet to the injection pump, and I've put in this hose, clear hose I've bought from Super Cheap, and we're going to run that up here and we're going to siphon it straight out of this this canister of fuel, and once I've got the siphon action going, we'll see if we can start it. Okay, I thought I'd better add this in right here before we get too much further. When you're siphoning fuel directly into an injection pump, the fuel is unfiltered. Yeah, you're not running it through the filter anymore. You must have clean components. The hose I purchased, I cleaned it out first. The jerry can I bought brand new, I cleaned it out. When I went to put the hose onto the injection pump, I made sure it did not hit anything on its way through the engine bay, just in case it picked up a little bit of dirt there. The hose only went halfway down into the jerry, not all the way down to the bottom. Okay, you've got to take all these precautions because the fuel is unfiltered, and unfiltered fuel is disastrous news for an injection pump and injectors. Okay, let's carry on. Okay, we've siphoned fuel. Fuel levels is right here on the hose, so it's under a bit of pressure. Now I've got the can up high, rightio, so we'll start it up high. That's going to give us about 1 psi being pushed into the pump. Well, she started. That's a good start. Seems to run all right. There's no white smoke anywhere. Awesome. Okie doke. Okay, that worked out well. We've got it going at last with fuel gravity feeding into the pump. Now we're going to try it with the jerry lower and see if the low pressure pump inside the injection pump has actually got any suction that'll suck it out of this jerry. So when you set them up low like this, you've got to make sure there's a loop in the line to hold fuel, otherwise you'll just get a gulp full of air and it won't run, or it'll stop. So yeah, you run it into the pump. I've got it coming out, then down, then over the chassis rail. So I've got a big loop in there to hold the fuel, because the rest of the fuel is going to run out of the pipe into the jerry, and I'm going to have a big massive chunk of air just in here. But if the pump is any good, it should suck it out of here and replace the fuel that's in that loop. Hopefully that'll all work out. So let's start this up and see if that works for us. Well, rightio. Look, let's speed this up a little bit. It's taking a little bit of time because I'm filming it. The vehicle ran well for the jerry, sitting on a besser block at very low to the ground. It ran perfect. Okay, so yeah, fantastic. I've got rid of the injection pump and the injectors out of the equation, so there's nothing wrong with those. Alright, we then moved the jerry from there. I moved it up to the steps and siphoned it straight into the filter housing here, and voila, we started to get problems. Within about 5 minutes, engine started missing, started puffing out white smoke again. It wasn't as bad, but it certainly indicated to me that we've got a problem at the filter primer. Okay, so that's where we're going to go. And as I alluded to at the start of the video, we knew we were going there. It's just that I started at the hard end first, or the most expensive end I should say, and worked my way back. Now we could have started at the primer end and worked our way forward, but look, I was just led in that direction because of the diesel mechanics in town. They reckon it was pump or injectors. So what I've learned from that experience is they just didn't want me to fix it. They wanted me to bring the vehicle into them. Of course, you know, they're in there trying to earn money. So they're not very helpful, are they? So you've got to be careful when you get advice from businesses. If you're asking them to fix your car over the telephone or in person without you actually taking the vehicle in, you're probably not going to get the best advice. Okay, let's carry on. So we started to get problems at the once we were siphoning directly into the filter. Obviously I thought, okay, we're going for primer pump, yeah? The most obvious sort of diagnosis you can come up with. I pulled it off, had a look at it, it pumps okay, check valve is okay, it sucks and blows and doesn't leak backwards. So there's actually nothing wrong with the primer, alright? So I already had a primer, I ordered that ages ago, thinking that's where we're heading, but it's actually not that at all. fuel filter. Okay, on the bottom of the fuel filter, it's got a water sensor. Yeah, and there's our problem. From what I believe, the just slightly wet at the terminals at the bottom when I was looking at it. So I got one of these, replaced it, put another filter on it. Problem fixed. Alright, I've had it running for a good 20 minutes, I've gone for a drive, everything's fine. So it's all come down to this little sucker, I'd say, sucking air in through here, and just eventually getting worse and worse and worse, adding more air into the system, and before you know it, the vehicle doesn't run anymore. So something simple like that is probably something I wouldn't have guessed, because I haven't touched this for a long time, you know, so it's a bit strange that it just started to get this problem. But that's definitely what it was, because everything's sweet, all runs well. Look, so yeah, look, we could have started at the filter end and maybe discovered that. Maybe we wouldn't have, because I was more attentive now that I knew that it was around the filter climate pump area, so I was very attentive to looking at detail. Perhaps if I started at this end, I may not have picked that small wetness up. I may have just replaced the filter, screwed that out, screwed it back in, stuck it back together, and I still would have had the same problem. I would have been sitting there scratching my head. So as luck would have it, I've started at the right end on this occasion. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, this is probably the area you're going to have problems with. Either the fuel shut-off solenoid is not working, but then you'd have an immediate shutdown of the vehicle if you're driving along and it just suddenly cuts out. You could be looking at the shut-off solenoid. In my occasion, that didn't even come into the equation. Or you'd go to your filter housing, and if you've got a water sensor there, you'd go for that and just check those two out. Or any loose lines, or stone has hit a line somewhere and it's allowing air to get in. But you're looking at a fuel problem from that end. From what I've discovered, injection pump is rarely the problem. But as I said earlier, you know, that's where the Dezo blokes led me. So yeah, not true on my occasion. They wear out. I'm told the pumps wear out, but they generally don't fail. So it's over. I've got my bus going. We've eventually got there. Bit of filming, bit of mucking around. Obviously, if you're doing this on your own, you probably nail this down in about 15 minutes to half an hour where the problem is. It'll take you straight directly. You just keep going backwards from there, or you could start from the back and work your way forward. But if you start back and find nothing and keep working forward, you're leading yourself to the injection pump. So you still got to prove it's the injection pump, and the only way to do that is to siphon fuel in there and see if it comes good then. Yeah, okay folks, look, I hope you got something out of this. It was certainly a bit of a rigmarole, a bit of mucking about, and yeah, I hope that when your diesel dies, or you've got a diesel that doesn't start, at least you're going to head for fuel more than anything else, and just diagnose it from there. Just work your way back or work your way forward, whichever way you feel you should be going, depending on your circumstances. Alright, we'll catch you in another video.